If I perish, I perish. It sounds like a desperate whisper, but it echoes like thunder through the silent palace. She had no army, no royal bloodline, no voice in the court. Just an orphan girl, raised in exile. A Jew in a foreign empire. A woman, hidden in the shadow of the most powerful kingdom on earth. No one could see the hand of God at work here. There were no burning bushes, no angels, no miracles from the sky. Only a girl, and a choice, to remain silent or to step into the throne room, knowing the cost might be her life. This isn't just the story of a queen. It's the story of how God moves, quietly, sovereignly, through one woman willing to say, "Here I am." King Xerxes ruled 127 provinces, stretching from India to Ethiopia. He sat on his throne in Susa, reigning with absolute power. To display his wealth, he held a feast lasting 180 days. Gold cups, rare wine, lavish displays. Then followed a 7-day banquet for all people in the citadel. On the 7th day, while drunk with wine, the king summoned Queen Vashti. He wanted to parade her beauty before the nobles. She refused. That single act shook the empire. His counselors panicked. If the queen disobeys, every wife in the kingdom will rebel against her husband. Vashti was stripped of her crown, and a new decree was sent. Every man is ruler in his own home. But the throne sat empty, and behind the scenes, God was already moving. Counselors advised the king to gather the most beautiful young women in the land. They would be pampered and prepared for a year. Then each would spend one night with the king. From them, he would choose his new queen. Among them was a Jewish girl named Hadassah, known in Persian as Esther. Orphaned and raised by her cousin Mordecai, she entered the palace with one instruction: don't reveal your heritage. Esther didn't demand luxury. She didn't chase attention. She was kind, humble, and everyone loved her, including the man in charge of the harem. When her turn came to meet the king, she didn't ask for anything extra. She walked in with quiet strength and divine favor. King Xerxes was captivated. He placed the crown upon her head. He held a royal feast in her honor, from forgotten exile to crowned queen. But this was just the beginning of something far greater. Though Esther wore the crown, no one in the palace knew she was a Jew. Outside the palace, Mordecai kept watch at the king's gate. One day, he overheard 2 royal guards plotting to assassinate the king. He told Esther. Esther told the king. The plot was stopped, the traitors were hanged, and Mordecai's act was recorded in the royal chronicles, but he received no reward. Soon after, a man named Haman rose in power. The king promoted him above all nobles. Everyone was commanded to bow before him, but Mordecai didn't. He would not kneel to man. Haman was enraged. When he discovered Mordecai was a Jew, his anger turned genocidal. He cast lots to choose a day. He then told the king, "There's a people scattered across your provinces. They follow their own laws. They defy your rule. Let us destroy them." The king agreed. He handed Haman his signet ring and said, "Do as you please." Decrees were sent to every province. On the 13th day of the 12th month, all Jews were to be killed. Grief swept across the nation. Mordecai tore his clothes, wore sackcloth, and wept in public. Esther heard and sent messengers. Mordecai's message returned. "You must act. Who knows? Perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this." Esther hesitated. "No one can approach the king unless summoned, or they die, and I haven't been called in 30 days. But after fasting and prayer, she sent her reply, "Gather the Jews, fast for me. I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish." On the third day, Esther dressed in royal robes and approached the inner court. One step too bold, and she could be killed. King Xerxes sat on his throne. When he saw her, his heart softened. He extended the golden scepter. Esther was spared, but she didn't rush into her request. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet. They came. They drank. But when the king asked what she wanted, Esther only said, "Come again tomorrow to another banquet, and I will answer." That night the king couldn't sleep. He called for the royal chronicles to be read aloud. They read the story of Mordecai, the man who saved his life. The king asked, "What was done to honor him?" "Nothing," the servant replied. Just then, Haman entered, intending to ask permission to hang Mordecai. But the king asked first, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Thinking the king meant him, Haman said, "He should wear the king's robe, ride the royal horse, and be paraded through the city." The king said, "Excellent. Do all that for Mordecai." Haman's face drained of color. He had to lead his enemy through the streets in honor. At the second banquet, the king asked again, "Esther, what is your request?" She rose. With courage in her eyes, she said, "Spare my life and the lives of my people, for we have been sold to be annihilated." The king was stunned. Who would do such a thing? Esther pointed. The adversary is this vile Haman. The king stormed out in rage. Haman, in panic, threw himself at Esther's feet. When the king returned and saw him close to the queen, he cried, "Will he assault the queen in my own house?" Guards seized Haman. A servant said, "There's a gallows near Haman's house. He built it for Mordecai." And the king ordered, "Hang him on it." Haman was gone. Justice was done. But the decree still stood. The order to annihilate the Jews had gone out. It was sealed with the king's ring and could not be revoked. Esther once again approached the throne, not for herself, but for her people. "How can I bear to see my people destroyed?" The king allowed her and Mordecai to write a new decree, a counter-order. The Jews may now defend themselves. Hope returned. On the dreaded day, the Jews rose up and overcame their enemies. Victory was theirs. No plunder was taken, only deliverance. They named the celebration Purim after the lots Haman had cast, now reversed by the hand of God. Mordecai was honored. He wore royal robes. He became second only to the king. But his greatness was not in position. It was in his heart for his people, his love for peace, his unwavering integrity. And yet, throughout the book of Esther, the name of God is never mentioned. No miracles, no prophets, no visions, but his fingerprints are everywhere. A queen chosen at the right time, a king who couldn't sleep, a gallows used for its maker. When God seems silent, he is not absent. When things feel random, he is still sovereign. And maybe, just maybe, you are where you are right now for such a time as this. You may not see the full story yet, but you are seen. You are positioned. You are called. Watch the next story, a new chapter, where another unlikely person becomes a vessel of deliverance. And maybe the next story is yours.